Liverpool having a great opportunity to then 9 of their 11 players being within their own box, defending another scruffy chance created by Chelsea. So it really is sort of swinging back and forth here.
So thanks for joining us here live on 5 Live. Myself, Tom Gale, alongside Manchester United defender Aoife Mannion. And Aoife pointed out that a number of the leading title contenders winning 4-0 this weekend. Of course, kick-started by Arsenal on Friday night. Aoife's Manchester United winning comfortably 4-0 yesterday. And Aston Villa scoring 4 goals as well. So the Women's Football Show this evening with Tina Dahealy, live on BBC One, 11:50 p.m. Must-see viewing. It will be available on the iPlayer for those who will be watching from tomorrow morning onwards. But we are in the 10th minute, and it is Emma Hayes' visitors who are a goal to the good. And it's Fran Kirby in the centre circle. Sprays out wide left to Charles, and that third of the stand where the sunlight's still creeping through to right, and left-hand side of the penalty area. Sends in the cross, looking for Kerr. It's half cleared. Cuthbert looks to control. Holland dispossesses, and Liverpool look to counter. Here's Kiernan, but she runs into the back of a teammate, and a slight crunching challenge there between James and Holland, and it's Liverpool who come away with the ball. Hines to Stengel. Bright's in to dispossess. Hines is quick to get on with the throw, but a teammate's not looking the right way, and the referee just halts. It's just relentless at the moment, Aoife, in terms of the intensity of this game.
Yeah, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that the penalty that Liverpool conceded would maybe make them a bit more cautious going into challenges. Absolutely not the case. I've just watched a few real full-blooded challenges, and it's good to see.
We've just seen a shot on the TV screens of Pernilla Harder, the Dane, sat in the stands. She was originally picked by Emma Hayes in the starting 11, but she picked up a slight knock in the warm-up. But we're told it's nothing of serious concern. It was just a precaution, so the Dane will have to wait at least a week for her first bit of WSL action of the season. And Millie Bright's completely misjudged the flight of the ball, but Buchanan's behind there, the Canadian. What experience to bring in. It's an impressive back line as it is with Millie Bright and Magdalena Eriksson, but Kadisha Buchanan, Champions League winner, multiple Champions League winner, Aoife, she's just slotted in like a glove in that back three.
Yeah, what a signing for Chelsea, signing Kadisha Buchanan from Lyon, and I'm literally watching her here just threading almost a perfect pass over the Liverpool squad and in behind the back line of Liverpool, and it didn't quite make it to Brighton, but you can tell that when she gets the ball, she feels comfortable, she's looking up, and she's looking to thread those passes for Chelsea.
11.5 minutes gone. Liverpool 0. Chelsea, the 5-time WSL winners, 1. It's a Liverpool goal kick in front of the Kop stand here at Prenton Park, of course, home of Tranmere Rovers men's team. As Liverpool look to come forward, it's almost threaded through to Kiernan. And I think definitely for that pace of the Liverpool back line, they do seem as though Chelsea are vulnerable. We talk about the experience of Eriksson, Buchanan and Bright, but certainly the pace that Liverpool have, that's got to be a key strategy for them this evening.
For sure. We know that Kiernan is lightning quick for Liverpool, and also Mel Lawley as well. She can really pose a threat. So I think that they'll be gathering a bit of confidence from their performance in the last few minutes. They've definitely created some chances.
It's back with Buchanan in the heart of that back three for Chelsea, with Bright, and a bit of daylight for the England defender to come forward to Lauren James in this unaccustomed, as Aoife pointed out, right wing back position. Of course, made the move to Chelsea last summer, but injuries, and Emma Hayes has said they've been taking their time with what is largely considered one of the biggest prospects in English women's football, and she's making her first WSL start today, and it's a Chelsea throw over the far side in the sunshine as we look out over the local area, see the rooftops. And if you have made a ticket inside, wow, what a game we've had in store, and almost Liverpool once again architects of their own downfall. A lot of uncertainty in that back line. Liverpool clearance straight to Millie Bright. It's over the wide right now. Lauren James, neat turn, 180 turn. She's looking to take on the Liverpool back line. She's got the ball stuck to her like glue. James makes space. Can she get to the byline and deliver the cross? She can. Can it be cut out? It comes up off the knee of a Liverpool defender. Cuthbert picks up the scraps, but it is eventually cleared by Gilly Flaherty.
That was the first time we saw James there with some comfortable possession, and perhaps that is why she's playing a bit deeper. Maybe they're hoping that she can get on the ball deep and sort of dribble forward and create chances that way rather than maybe running in behind her. But I'm interested to see how her positioning develops through this game. Will she continue to play as deep, or will Emma Hayes be telling her to push on and push forward?
It's a Chelsea throw around about halfway into the Liverpool section of the pitch. It's back with James into Cuthbert to Bright. Bit of keep ball now. First bit of real possession that Chelsea have had in this frenetic opening 14 minutes, and it's still a Fran Kirby early penalty that separates the two sides. Buchanan in her own half in the centre circle. Lovely technique to just use the outside of the instep of her foot to side foot it out wide to Lauren James. It's back with the Canadian. Huge success in France. Olympic gold medalist. Couldn't resist the law of the WSL. And she's off to a dream start, her and her Chelsea teammates. 1-0 up away at Liverpool. Loads of space for Lauren James. She's into the final third, attacking the Liverpool penalty area. Right-hand side, ghost pass Hines, stands up the cross to the back post, just too much on it. But we talked about what a precocious talent we've said that Lauren James is, Aoife Mannion. Just in that barely 2 minutes or so, we've seen what she's all about. Close control, just lacking that little bit of quality with the final delivery. It
was almost the perfect delivery, that technique to stand the ball up. You know, it looked like it could have hung in and around the penalty area. And you could tell that the Liverpool defenders didn't really want to put a tackle on James. Potentially they're a bit cautious. They know how good a feet is. They're going to have to get that out of the system, because if this is how they continue to treat Lauren James, she might be in for a field day today.
Chelsea again win the ball back. It's tried to thread instantly through to Wright, and Ingle it was, the Welsh midfielder, picking out the Norwegian, who actually offers her arm up in an apology, saying, I should have controlled that. I don't know about you, I'd certainly struggle to control that, but of course I'm not the professional footballer. I leave that along to Aoife Mannion alongside me. But it's the standards that Chelsea demand, aren't they? They're an elite club, and Emma Hayes, even though they're 1-0 up, she'll be demanding an awful lot from her team out there.
They are, and for them the next piece of silverware is Champions League, and that just tells you where they are in the WSL and their ambition. You know, like you said earlier, Matt Beard has said that his ambition is to keep the Liverpool team up first and foremost, and so you've got two teams in a very different phase.
Liverpool win the ball high up, but Chelsea within that magical few seconds win the ball back right and unleashes Kirby down the line, but Fahy's going to come across the Liverpool captain and finds her own goalkeeper. She could have found touch, but does well to keep possession. It's with Laws, who's going to have to wait for her first WSL clean sheet in a Liverpool jersey. That early penalty scored by Fran Kirby, the difference. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Women's Super League action. Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. We have played 15 minutes, and what we do know, Aoife Mannion, is it's a contest, isn't it? There's arguments that Chelsea could have raced away with it, but Liverpool have stood their ground in that, 13, 14 minutes since conceding.
Absolutely, they've weathered a bit of a storm there. Who would have written that Chelsea would have been up after 1 minute through a penalty? So I think that they've had a good comeback. I think they're putting together a good performance here. I think it's clear where they think they can get chances. They have looked a little bit scatty at times, playing out from the back. So let's see how this one shapes up.
So Liverpool are on a 10-game unbeaten run in the league. Of course, they were in the second tier, the Women's Championship last season, which they dispatched of all comers. But Prenton Park has been built as a bit of a fortress, as we're seeing across the WSL. Huge interest in the women's game that's grown over time, but in particular the summer success of the Lionesses. And there are a number of Liverpool fans in attendance here right in front of us, but they're currently watching a fiercely fought contest, and actually the early yellow card there, greeted by boos, but I think rightfully so. A clear tug back there from Kerry Holland, and she's the first to go into the referee's notebook, Aoife Mannion.
I mean, I would have seen that if it was outside the stadium and down the road. It was so obvious. Her arm was obviously outstretched and she was pulling on the shirt. So I do like that. I like that little bit of hustle. But it's such a cheap way to concede a yellow card, isn't it?
And I don't think you can give Chelsea an inch, because they've proved that their only attempt on goal came from the penalty spot, and Fran Kirby it was. Cool as you like. Of course, she missed out on the September internationals with England due to injury concerns. I remember it wasn't anything major. Serena Wiegman very keen to downplay it, but she wasn't fit for those games, but she's fit for the start of the season, and so is Sam Kerr in behind the Liverpool defence, and Laws is out to dispossess the Australian. The flag does go up for offside eventually, but very alert goalkeeping. She wasn't to know was Sam Kerr was bounding down her, and that's again a good confidence booster there for Rachel Laws to be off her line to dispossess the Australian.
Definitely, and I think if I'm Rachel Laws, I'm probably telling my Liverpool forwards to put a little bit more pressure on Kadisha Buchanan. You know, she's put together some really good passes here. Surely they can't continue to give her that much space and time on the ball.
There's a busy day of football. A reminder, head to the BBC Sport website and app for all match reports. But earlier in the Premier League, Brentford 0, Arsenal 3. And earlier on 5 Live, Ian Dennis and Jonathan Woodgate live at Goodison Park, where it finished Everton 1, West Ham 0. There was Neil Mopai winning goal there, his first in Chelsea colours. A reminder, all the football this evening on BBC One. Match of the day, 11:05. Mark Chapman, Alan Shearer and Ian Wright dissecting the Premier League action, followed by the Women's Super League show, where you will see an absolute stunner of a goal from Sam Kerr. Edge of the box volley, but the referee's assistant's flag is up. She's looking over, shaking her head. Wow, front to back, but what about the technique? It's disallowed, but I'm sitting here in awe. She's literally 20 yards out, ball over her shoulder, it bounces, the Australian lets fly, pick that out, but it's disallowed.
What an incredible strike, and I must say I was getting a bit of a bad flashback of when she's done that to us before at United, so you know, I don't want to see too much of that. My heart was racing a little bit. It was very, very good, and it's a shame it was offside. Sam
Kerr continues to haunt WSL defenders' dreams because, of course, she's been the Golden Boot winner for the last 2 seasons, and she was awfully close, just an offside flag away from her opening up her account for the new campaign. Again, Chelsea go long from Musovic, picked up by Kerr, headed, tried to guide it towards Wrighton, who was going to be in on goal. Buchanan again wins the header for Chelsea. It's back and forth, both sides struggling to get possession, and it just slow up with Eriksson over the far left-hand side in the Chelsea half, and it goes back to their goalkeeper. Sachira Musovic, sorry, she's the probably recognised out-and-out Chelsea #1 now. Obviously, our thoughts are with Katrin Amberger, who disclosed in the summer that sadly her cancer had returned, so she's going to have a spell on the sidelines. And she's been called into action. Really, the Swede was worked well by the Liverpool attackers, but that's certainly what Matt Beard will be wanting from his side, Aoife Mannion, is to try and get in that final third. Easier said than done, though, and try and work that Chelsea goalkeeper.
Definitely, and I'm watching this Liverpool defence here, and sometimes they look really well drilled, you know, sometimes they look really well rehearsed, 5 at the back, and then other times it's almost like they're playing man for man and they're sort of getting really dragged out of their area. So, you know, I think a few moments ago we were talking about Liverpool creating chances, and I think maybe the next 10 minutes I can sense that momentum has shifted in Chelsea's favour.
Just seen Emma Hayes heading into the technical area in the middle, that space which the 4th official occupies. She's clearly not happy with something, but she'll be happy with the scoreline. We are 21 minutes in, Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. Buchanan glides past 2 red jerseys, does a 180 turn back to Ingle, who spreads it out wide left to Kirby. Charles to Cuthbert to Kirby. Charles has continued to work down the left-hand flank, but before he clears things up, it's back with Laws, the Liverpool goalkeeper, in front of the Kop stand. It is just the paddock that is open for spectators, so both stands either side of the goal, and the one adjacent, myself and Aoife Mannion in the press box, so the Johnny King stand where we can see the rooftops of the local community, they're all vacant. Of course, the Sky TV cameras are here, and like I said, a reminder, the women's football show is must-see viewing this evening, 11:50 p.m. Tina Dahealy taking you through all the action, which of course began on Friday as Erin Cuthbert takes a strike from 25 yards. It hits the stanchion on the right-hand side of Lisa Laws' goal, and again, she's not too happy with the defenders because Chelsea clearly show an opening and they'll take on that shot, Aoife Mannion.
Well, it's like they're sort of practicing kicking after training, like on the volley. We've had one from Sam Kerr called offside, but that was obviously, you know, that hit the back of the net before it was, and then we've just had one from Cuthbert that hit the bar. I think Rachel Laws will be having a word with her girls and telling them to really put pressure on those Chelsea forwards.
It was a great atmosphere pre-match. We did pay our respects to the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, but all that anticipation, certainly if you're a Liverpool fan, was quickly sucked out with that early penalty, and that's currently That Fran Kirby spot kick that separates the two sides as we approach 25 minutes played. It's just that single goal. It's good to see. I did see Chelsea fans being picked out by the TV cameras. That's a bit of a journey on a Sunday afternoon into evening. But so far, so good. And what's particularly impressed you, Aoife Mannion, about the champions so far and what we've seen of the 24 minutes that they've been in action?
Well, in particular, Khadija Buchanan, you know, she is the middle one of that Chelsea three at the back. And really, at the moment, it's her world and we're just living in it. She is looking so composed on the ball. She's playing as though she's almost, a holding midfielder or a number 10, the way that she's controlling the ball, threading passes.
Well, it is chance for Liverpool to try and move themselves up the field. Again, they just need a little bit more quality. Lawley unable to link up there with the American striker Stengel. I guess the key is just making it stick, isn't it, up top? But easier said than done, as Aoife Mannion alongside him has rightfully been waxing lyrical about the standard of that back line, and the Canadian Khadija Buchanan slotted in there effortlessly. Great defender, but such excellent technique, spraying passes. But she's defending now, because here come Liverpool through Kearns, trying to thread through to Keenan. She's going to go round the goalkeeper as she slot home. It's off the post. But once again, the referee's assistance flag is up for offsides. But the fans like it. Liverpool are holding their own against the champions, and they're taking it to them, Aoife Mannion.
It's a great atmosphere here, and it feels like we're in, the 12th round of boxing or something. Both teams throwing punches, really vying for momentum here. And just as I was criticising maybe Liverpool's lack of momentum in the last 10 minutes, it switches all of a sudden. In the blink of an eye, Chelsea are up the other end. Kears in, edge of the penalty area, one-on-one, looks around the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper takes a wide left-hand side of the penalty area. Back to Kirby, stands up the cross to the back post. Well defended by Liverpool, but only as far as Lauren James. Cries of shoot, which she neglects, and the deflected effort goes behind for a goal kick. But the transition, wow. Defence to attack, Aoife Mannion. This is what the WSL is all about. For sure, and another incredible flick on from Chelsea there. But you have to look at those Liverpool defenders and say, right, we need to have a conversation here. What's our plan? What's our strategy? Are we going to get sucked in out of our position? But if we do, we have to make sure that we're making contact with that header. We can't be getting dragged out of our position and then the ball's getting flicked over us. And at the moment, I don't know if Liverpool have solved that yet. That's 3 clear chances, and they're not going to want too many more of them. It is Liverpool 0. Chelsea 1. Live Women's Super League action for you on 5 Live. Myself, Tom Gale, alongside the Manchester United defender Aoife Mannion. Aoife currently rehabbing injury. But what did you make of your teammates? Excellent display yesterday, 4-0 winners. It was a great performance, 4-0, hitting the ground running. Our first game last year was against Reading as well, and that we won 2-0 that day. I thought yesterday's performance was really decisive from the girls, and it's really going to put us in good stead to build from that. So far here on Merseyside, it looks as though the Londoners Chelsea will be heading home with all 3 points, but an awful long way to go. We're in the 27th minute, and it is still Liverpool 0. Chelsea 1. Don't forget, there's live text commentary on the BBC Sport website and app. Our colleague Emma Sanders is alongside us here in the press box, keeping you up to date with all your text needs. You can check out all the scores and the match reports. And if you are just joining us, a reminder of those earlier games. What a stunner live on BBC 2 at Villa Park. Aston Villa 4, Manchester City 3, Leicester 1, Tottenham 2, West Ham 1, Everton 0. And here at Prenton Park, it is a Fran Kirby spot kick for the champions, which separates the two sides. We're approaching almost 28 minutes played. It's with Eriksson, the Chelsea captain, to Buchanan. Liverpool keen to sit off them and let them come forwards. And Cuthbert, wide right, just in front of Matt Beard in that technical area. Goes back to Bright. Buchanan. Chelsea happy to recycle things, don't want to force it. Looking for those vacant blue shirts. And it's now wide left through Fran Kirby. He's got Wrighton and Charles in front of her. Finds Ingle. Charles, former Liverpool winger, gets in behind a former club and wins a corner for a side. I've been really impressed with Chelsea's midfielders so far. I've noticed that they've been really fluid and mobile in how they're sort of supporting the defenders to get on the ball. I don't know if Chelsea have turned over a ball at all in the centre of the park. They've been, filling out into the wide areas, finding those pockets of space. Ingle sometimes making a back four, sometimes dropping out wide. Same with Cuthbert. And the moment when they're on the ball, they look like they're in cruise control.
It is Cuthbert who's trudged over to that far side in front of the Kop end to take a right-footed in-swinging corner, the first of the game. Ingle at the near post, but it's a Liverpool boot that gets it clear as Hawley slows things up and does awfully well there, tries to pick out a teammate, but Kearns was on her heels there, and Chelsea, again, so good at winning back possession. And as you know, Aoife Mannion, ball retention at this level, and Liverpool just need to string more than 3 or 4 passes together.
For sure. At the same time, however, they look really dangerous just on that transition. So just as they win that ball back from Chelsea, after Chelsea have committed numbers forward, it's almost like they're sort of setting themselves up for a bit of a counter-attacking opportunity through Kiernan and Mel Lawley. So, do we want them to retain the ball? Is that the way that they want to play, or are they going to go counter-attack?
Buchanan looks out wide for James, but that's too much on it, and James just looks over his shoulder to say, I'm not bringing that down from 7 foot in the air. And it is a Liverpool throw in front of us, in front of the paddock stand, just on the halfway line. Hines looking for options down the line. Stengel's made the run. Kiernan makes one infield, and he bounces up off her arm, and Cuthbert's again in to dispossess the Liverpool attacker, and she's just saying, actually, just play to feet, not to chest, Kiernan saying there. And it's Millie Bright stood over the ball. Another one of those who's played so much football, so much successful football in 2022. Capped off with the Lionesses, but back to club duties. And as Aoife Mannion's pointed out, I think you can expect Chelsea to challenge for the title, Aoife, but I think many people are looking to see, can they go deep in that Champions League? Of course, finalists, but that's the big target, isn't it? Winning the Champions League. You've got a feel for a club of Chelsea's calibre.
Well, they've obviously won the WSL many times, and for them that's the one that's left out in their sort of silverware cabinet. So they will be hungry and ambitious to get that. At the same time, right now we're playing a WSL game, and that they want us to take it step by step and win this game first and foremost.
Played out wide to Koya Vista, who's in the final 10th of the field as regards the wide right over that far side. Very busy, but much ado about nothing there. It goes out for a Chelsea goal kick. 2 balls on the field, so Koya Vista just taking her time and returning one of them. And Chelsea always with the options either side of the 6-yard box to play out from the back and go short. It does look as though Koya Vista's going to potentially ignore them and look to go a bit long, because obviously Kiernan and Hawley are stood poised on the 18-yard box, and she does go long, and it's Fahy who heads it back towards the Chelsea goal. Holland. Stengel didn't have her feet planted, it was behind it, and it's in Chelsea possession once again. Millie Bright with Buchanan, rolls it out wide to Eriksson. Game's just slowed ever so slightly, and Chelsea are like this, won't they, Aoife, in terms of then they can control things more. They've found that playing on the counter against Liverpool is maybe where they can come undone. They want to just keep the ball for a bit longer. This
will definitely suit Chelsea, and it will force Liverpool to sort of run about, press the ball, and it's not the sort of running that they want to be doing. They want to be using their energy when they actually are on the ball creating attacks. So this will be welcomed from Chelsea.
Liverpool working hard but chasing shadows in the opposition half, though, so they're keeping Chelsea at bay. But Eriksson drives forward, but Kearns comes across to crunch in with the challenge, but Chelsea quick to get on with things. Flicked over the shoulder by Kirby, and Kirby goes down, running into a Liverpool player there on the edge of the box. She wants a free kick, but the referee, Emily Heaslip, nonplussed, and I think that's the right decision.
Well, as a defender, I would say that's
Defenders Union, yeah? We're here for that, don't worry. 32 minutes played. Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. The penalty was awarded in the first minute, but it wasn't actually taken until the 3rd minute. There was a bit of a delay as regards to Fran Kirby eventually getting around to placing the ball on the spot and then tucking it home. And that's what gives the champions, the 5-time champions, the advantage away here in the WSL opener at Liverpool. It's with the Chelsea back line. Buchanan rolls it across goal to Eriksson. Slides in, finds Wrighton, and Charles again hugging that touchline, but a rare poor touch from her, who of course was brought up through the Liverpool academy before making the switch to Chelsea. She's actually the last Liverpool player to score against Chelsea. Of course, that's not going to be the case this afternoon. There's an own goal. Certainly don't want to jinx Niamh Charles, but a good signing for Emma Hayes, one with an extremely promising future ahead of her, one that Liverpool was sad to lose, but no doubt she's got a few friends and family here in the stands in particular today, as Liverpool look to go over the top. But again, I think that's key, isn't it, now? The momentum's gone out of Liverpool. What do you think they need to do, Aoife, just to at least show Chelsea that they're still in this game?
Well, first of all, it's a Chelsea goal kick, and I'm looking at the Liverpool defenders defending 2 for 2 at halfway, and I'm getting a bit nervous for them actually, but so far it doesn't seem to be exploited.
Chelsea do go short with the goal kick. It's back with Koivisto, who just rolls it out the edge of a 6-yard box. Liverpool happy to let the Swede in her all yellow kit and boots go long. Kerr with the flick on, and again it's one-on-one behind Wrighton, trying to switch the play to Fran Kirby, but Liverpool win back possession. Koivisto goes in hard there with Wrighton. The Liverpool player stayed on the deck, and it will be a free kick to Matt Beard's side.
Chelsea's Wrighton and Kerr are playing really well together. You know, one is coming in for the ball to flick on, and the other one is running long. I think that they've got a really nice union between them. We probably would have expected that it was going to be harder today in that combination with Kerr, but Wrighton is really doing that nicely at the moment. Again,
the Chelsea press works well. They win the ball back from a Liverpool free kick in their own half. It's over the far left-hand side with Charles, and Kirby's happy to go back into the left-back position of the field to find a captain, Eriksson, the Swede, who was injured for the majority of last season's title-winning campaign, but fit to start this campaign, obviously after her Euro 2022 exploits. Little rest, but we go again, and we're live on BBC Radio 5 Live with 9 minutes to go until half-time. It is Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. Ingle, 35 yards from the Liverpool goal. Kerr made the run in behind. Actually, it was Wrighton, and actually Fran Kirby getting frequencies mixed up, not on quite the same wavelength as Wrighton. It goes through to the Liverpool goalkeeper. Just a reminder of the day's scores in the football, if you haven't come across them. Starting in the Premier League, Arsenal 3-0 winners away at Brentford, and then Everton here on 5 Live 1-0 winners against West Ham. And in the Super League, Aston Villa 4, Manchester City 3, Spurs winning away at Leicester, and it's West Ham 1, Everton 0, a full-time score. And the remaining game in the opening weekend of the Women's Super League, it's currently Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. James in her own half, driving towards the centre circle. She's got Hines for company, but she just rolls her shoulder and just keeps the Liverpool defender at arm's length. Back with Buchanan. Nice, neat roll of the ball to Bright, to Cuthbert. Space once again. This is what Chelsea is so good at, keeping the ball and then spotting the spaces on opposite flanks. And it doesn't quite come off this time. Liverpool win back possession, and that's a dangerous looking back pass, asking a lot of laws, but she's alert, sends the ball long downfield. And yeah, Liverpool just look out of sorts, Aoife Mannion, at the moment. They need to get themselves back in the game.
It's those switches of play from Chelsea as well that really crush you when you're defending. You get sucked into one side, and then through tidy play from Chelsea, they switch it out. And as defenders, you find yourself sort of going across the other side of the pitch, and it is really energy consuming, and mentally trying to stay switched on to not let players run off to your shoulder. It's really difficult as well.
So that's the voice of Manchester United defender Aoife Mannion alongside me for Women's Super League action. And we are 7 minutes from half-time, and it's Liverpool really struggling to keep pace here with Chelsea. It's just a single goal, but you do feel the way the game's swung, particularly in the last 10 minutes or so, where Liverpool have been chasing shadows, that if Chelsea get another one, then they could really start to rack up the goals. Millie Bright making a venture forward down the right-hand flank. She's ignored by James, who picks it up centre of the field, glides past Farhi. It is still Lauren James, 35 yards out. She's over the left-hand side. Now through Charles, looking to take on the Liverpool defence, who again come together. Miscue. It's with James, left-hand side of the penalty area. Just does a 180 turn and retreats back. Ball retention key. They're happy to recycle Chelsea and go again. They're in the Liverpool half, just in front of the semicircle. Cuthbert into Wrighton, centre on, 25 yards out to Kirby. Stands up to the back post, looking for Kerr. Kerr wins the header. It glances wide. She wants a corner, but referee says goal kick.
Kerr is so dangerous with those headers coming off the blind side as a defender. She sort of drifts on that back shoulder and then pops up to head the ball just at the moment that you don't expect. I think it tells you everything about where momentum is lying at the moment, that Millie Bright is making runs down the right wing. I think that tells you who's in control of the game at the moment, and Liverpool will feel like they need to weather this storm and get into half-time without conceding any more goals.
Liverpool go short with a goal kick. A heavy touch by Laws as Wrighton was bearing down on her inside her own 6-yard box, and she finds touch over the far side. Koyevista bizarrely thinking that was a Liverpool throw. Not a chance. On the halfway line over the opposite side, it's taken into Fran Kirby. Neat turn. Finds fellow Lioness Millie Bright to fellow Lioness Lauren James. Down the line to the Scot Erin Cuthbert, who bypasses Holland. Can she deliver the cross? She can. Stands it up to the back post. Wrighton's challenging, but Flaherty takes no chances and concedes the corner. Good defending. As Wrighton trots over to the far side. Just the second corner of the game as we're in the 40th minute. We've seen a lot of good football so far this evening at Prenton Park, but just that single penalty strike in the 3rd minute from Fran Kirby. The corner goes short to Kirby. And it's back with Charles. Good 40 yards from goal. Goes to the opposite side looking for Buchanan. Headed clear by Liverpool. Back by Bright. And it's with Stengel, who's defending the American. Finds Kiernan on the touchline. It was very tight. Has she managed to keep it in play? No, she hasn't. And Liverpool just can't get out of their own half, Aoife Mannion.
They can't get out, and what's difficult for them is obviously they've got so many bodies behind the ball defending that when they do retain possession or get possession back, they've not got a threat to the back line.
So just looking at the shot count, just that single effort from Liverpool, 4 for Chelsea. And you do feel as though Chelsea are the more likely. But especially with such a slender lead, Matt Beard, as we approach half-time, will be understandably getting stuck into his players to say it's just one goal. Yes, it's the champions. Yes, they've got an absolute stellar starting 11. But a moment of magic, and it could be at the very least a point on opening day against arguably the best team in the country. But here come Chelsea. Cuthbert switches it wide right to James. Kerr makes the run, finds the Australian right-hand side of the penalty area, delivers the cross. It's behind everyone, but it's going to be picked up by Kirby. Back to Ingle on the edge of the penalty area. Rolls it across to Kirby, 25 yards out to Bright. It's now back over the right-hand side through Lauren James. Lovely trickery, two-footed stuff from the former Chelsea Academy product. She then went on to Arsenal, Manchester United, but back in the blue of Chelsea, and she's been turning heads so far this evening as Liverpool again try and clear the lines, but it barely makes it, 35 yards away from their own goal, and they're coming back in attack. Chelsea, Lauren James, head of steam, taking on Flaherty, bypasses it, stands up the cross, and it's a good header by Farhi. Still not clear. Kiernan takes a touch on the edge of the box. That was a bit foolish there, and it's won back by Chelsea. Eriksson into Kirby. 3 minutes to go in the half. Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. Kirby, Wrighton, back to Ingle, back to goal, back to Kirby, takes the strike, it's deflected. Flaherty heads it clear for a throw, but credit the Liverpool defending, but I have to say, Aoife Mannion, that they've got themselves to blame because they're not clearing their lines whatsoever.
Yeah, they seem to be really on the back foot here, and when they are winning the ball back, kind of poor passes, giving it away, inviting Chelsea pressure, and Chelsea look like they're just switching the ball and feel really comfortable, especially Lauren James.
It's Kerr at the byline from the throw into Millie Bright, who's made it to the byline, stands up the cross. It's an excellent cross, which Wrighton just gets muscled out of things. Good defending from Liverpool, and it's Kiernan working hard over that far side. Does really well, the striker. Back on defensive duties, wins the foul, a yard in from the touchline. We've got less than 2 minutes of normal time remaining. It's Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. I'm alongside the Manchester United defender, Aoife Mannion. Koivista trots over for the throw. On a debut, summer signing from Brighton, alongside Gilly Flaherty, designed to bring more WSL experience into that back line, but they have looked awfully vulnerable in the 43.5 minutes we've played so far at Prenton Park. Live on BBC Radio 5 Live. It's the Women's Super League, and the climax of an excellent weekend. The season up and running on Friday, and this is the final game in the opening fixtures, and it is the champions who look to be heading into the break with at least a 1-goal advantage. Ball over the top, looking for Kerr, over his shoulder, heads it across goal. Once again, the referee's assistant flags for offside. And I think we have to credit Liverpool defence. We've maybe understandably been critical at times, but they are playing the offside trap well, Aoife Mannion.
Yes, they are, and there are definitely many moments where they do look really well organised. It was really clear what shape they had there. They were narrow, they were compact, they were denying Chelsea the spaces, and it forced Chelsea to play that long ball in behind, and of course then it was called offside against Sam Kerr.
So we're in the 45th minute. We're still awaiting the fourth official to see how much added time will be played here. As the ball is headed into the Liverpool technical area, I saw a Matt Beard flag flying high, and the mighty red Liverpool mascot and their striker Leanne Kiernan. It was great to see the enthusiasm amongst the home fans pre-kick-off. Excited to have WSL football back here on the red half of Merseyside, and I think as we approach half-time, it's certainly not been a nightmare, has it, Aoife Mannion? Definitely, understandably, few key points they need to do better at, but they have kept themselves in the game as the fourth official puts 1 minute of added time.
Yeah, for sure. Liverpool have ingredients to sort of put on a really good performance here. Of course, there's been moments where Chelsea have looked overwhelming, but on the whole, I think a 1-0 scoreline has been, fairly fair so far. I think Liverpool will be thankful when the half-time whistle comes. So
at least a minute extra here, and we've already played 40 seconds of that as I speak, and it's Chelsea in possession, approaching the halfway line through Millie Bright. Square to Eriksson. Kirby, the goal scorer from the penalty spot, finds Ingle in field, trying to play in need Charles. Koivista looks to have that covered. Does well, wins the throw. And that is the last bit of action of the half. It got off to a terrible start for the home side. Inside 60 seconds, Gilly Flaherty, a summer signing from West Ham, so experienced, WSL winner, bringing down Guru Wright, and an up-step Fran Kirby to convert from the penalty spot. I've been alongside Aoife Mannion for the opening 45 of the final game in the WSL this weekend. Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. Your thoughts, Aoife?
It's been quite an exciting opening half. Obviously, who would have written that Chelsea opening goal after only a couple of minutes? I think Liverpool will really need to take stock and kick on and try to impose themselves a bit more on Chelsea in the second half.
OK, so half-time, Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. Back to you, Steve.
Aoife, Khadijah Buchanan, it's a cheat code, isn't it? I mean, Chelsea were good enough already, and they bring in a Champions League winning centre-back who's played this afternoon like she's been playing with Eriksson and Bright for 10 years.
She looks so experienced in this Chelsea side. I mean, of course, she's come from pedigree, she's come from Lyon, she's been a Champions League winner, and it really does look like it's her game at the moment.
And what about the penalty? Because, Matt Beard will have brought Gilly Flaherty in for her experience, with a group of players coming up to the top flight. I feel like she'll probably be furious with herself because it was a clumsy challenge, wasn't it?
She'll be disappointed for sure. She left that leg hanging out there, but it's easy for us to sort of sit here and criticise the movements of the defenders. What we have to remember is when you've got the likes of Frank Kirby running inside out, Sam Kerr, Wright, and all these types of players, it's very, very difficult to coordinate your body sometimes as a defender.
And I know it's easy. I've been doing it for a career, Aoife. Aoife, thank you very much. And Tom, they'll be back with you for second half commentary. Liverpool, newly promoted, giving a good account of themselves so far. Liverpool 0, the champions Chelsea 1. We're going to speak to Chris Sutton shortly. He'll be with you for 6:06 once we're done at Prenton Park. Chris with Robbie Savage, 08085 909 693, the number to call. We'll let you know when the lines open. It will be soon, and you'll be able to text on 85058. We've got lots of Premier League reaction coming up. We'll hear from Thomas Frank. We'll hear from Kieran Tierney after Arsenal's 3-0 win over Brentford. We've got David Moyes and Frank Lampard as well after Everton beat West Ham by 1-0. And Celtic boss Ange Postecoglou after their shock 2-0 defeat at St Mirren. All of that to come after the news with Alison Hughes.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. People are being advised not to travel to join the queue to file past Queen Elizabeth's coffin, which is lying in state before her funeral tomorrow morning. Earlier, government officials had said the line would be closed at some time today. The wait for those at the back is estimated at nearly 10 hours. These people began queuing a short time ago.
Just to show our respects to the Queen for all the service she's put into the country and for all the years she's done it.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to show respect. A lot of people obviously have different reasons for coming and happy to lay down flowers, but I feel like this is a bit of, not necessarily blood, sweat and tears, but it's a good effort to give to the Queen.
Yeah, it's just to pay your respect to the Queen. She done her service, so what's 9.5 hours wait in the queue? It's nothing compared to what she's done.
King Charles and Camilla, the Queen Consort, are hosting a reception at Buckingham Palace this evening for leading world figures, some of whom, including the US President Joe Biden and his wife First Lady Jill Biden, have already paid their respects to the Queen in Westminster Hall. Our correspondent Rebecca Jones is outside the palace.
We understand the dress code is a little bit more informal than you might expect for a big state reception at Buckingham Palace. Not so much white tie and tiaras, but more lounge suit and morning suit. And we understand that guests will be offered drinks and canapes in the Buckingham Palace Picture Gallery and the state apartments. And for those who wish to or who haven't already done so, they will be given the opportunity to go and see the Queen's coffin, to attend the lying in state and also to sign the Book of Condolence.
A minute's silence to reflect on Queen Elizabeth's life and legacy will be held across the UK at 8 o'clock this evening. Stephen Nolan's programme will cover the event here on 5 Live from 5 minutes to 8. And officials in Leicester say residents can expect to see a significant police presence in the coming days. It's after hundreds of men from sections of the city's Hindu and Muslim communities were involved in violent disorder last night. There have been a series of similar incidents following a cricket match between India and Pakistan last month.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Evening, welcome back to 5 Live's Premier League Sunday. Premier League reaction on the way after we've taken you down to Hove, where India are close to victory over England. Kevin Howells.
They are indeed. 220 for 3, the target just 228, so India on the verge of going 1-up, but making easy work of chasing this, to be honest, here at Hove today. Central to it, the Indian opener Smitri Mandana, 91 off 99 balls, 10 fours and a 6, a highest ODI total against England. Totally commanding performance, always in control until the shot where she was caught, giving Kate Cross a second wicket. Cross bowling well, really, 2 for 43 from her 10 overs. England looking short of ideas at times. Core is there on 63. They're looking at the moment at a review, a possible 4th wicket down, but still 8 needed for victory. 220 for 3 in the 43rd over.
Kevin, thank you very much. Earlier today, Everton got their first Premier League win of the season. They beat West Ham by 1-0. It was a brilliant goal as well. There's been a few good ones today. You can watch them all on Match of the Day 2 later tonight, 11:05 on BBC One with Mark Chapman, Alan Shearer and Ian Wright. Mopai's first Everton goal. Here's his manager, Frank Lampard.
We all needed that. We deserved it. I said to the players there, they've worked really hard. Difficult 2 weeks for the country. We're trying to change a little bit of the way we play in different ways of formation and style slightly. And another game where we're not conceding as we may have done last year. So full credit to the squad for that.
You're on this unbeaten run as well.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Now I can say that we've won a game. You know, people.
It kind of makes a difference.
No, it definitely does, because in the modern day, those stats get thrown at you in different ways. Like, you haven't won since then or whatever. Now it's games unbeaten with a win, with a feeling that we're not conceding, and we know we're in the early stages and there's a lot of work to do. You know, players that have just joined us, you know, he's trying to talk to Amadou about, you know, the role of a number 8, how I see that. Now we're playing this system, and Conor Cody's been in the back 5, now he's in the back 4, and players that are new and fresh and getting into it takes a little bit of time. So they're running it a bit, to be fair, the players at the minute. There's some big personalities in there, and they're so driven, and they train with such attention that makes me happy. Makes you happy to come to work every day, and obviously 3 points makes you even more happy.
Speaking of men delighted to be coming to work, Chris Sutton will be with you for 6:06 once we're done with Women's Super League commentary from Prenton Park. Evening, Chris.
Good evening, Steve.
All good?
Yes, very good, thanks. You enjoyed the football today?
Yeah, it's been very good. Good for Everton as well. They needed that, didn't they?
Yes, and listening to Frank then, you know, saying that, you know, we all needed that. They've had a lot of draws recently. He's had a tough job on, hasn't he? But now getting a centre forward, and I thought Neil Maupay took his goal so well. Really quick touch and caught Fabianski out. But yeah, it felt like Everton needed that. Played with great intensity. On the flip side of that, you've got West Ham. They've brought in quite a few signings this season, haven't they? But it's just not quite gelling at this moment in time. And, you know, we want to hear from West Ham fans. Are they slightly concerned about that?
Well, that's the thing, is that I think first international break, you know, 7 games into the season, it's fair enough to be looking at the league table, isn't it? And when West Ham fans look at the league table, they see themselves in the relegation zone.
Yes, they do. Look, I think in truth they've been slightly unfortunate. The game at Chelsea, I thought they performed well at home against Spurs. They beat Aston Villa, of course, but yeah. I suppose he's got a bit of a dilemma. There's got Skamaka in, hasn't he, the centre forward? Does he play him ahead of Antonio? But what we do know at this moment in time, they look a little bit disjointed. But what David Moyes did say after the game today, that it wasn't necessarily the new players, it was the players who have been there who let them down today. So what do the West Ham fans think about that?
Chris, who were you playing for when you were 15?
Oh, good question. Horsford boys.
Up the Horsford?
Yeah.
Good side.
Boys.
Good side.
Good team, yeah. Yeah, we were, yeah.
Horsford fans, 08085909693.
You wait and see. There's a few of them.
I'm asking because, obviously, Ethan Nwaneri has become the youngest ever Premier League player. He played just for a few minutes as Arsenal won 3-0 at Brentford. Arsenal top of the table.
That's incredible, isn't it?
It's amazing.
15 years, 181 days, blimey.
We can get more on him, actually, because Kieran Tierney has been speaking to Jonathan Overend.
Yeah, it felt good. I think coming here, you know, it's going to be so tough. Especially if you look at the record against the top teams at home, they do very well, so we knew that coming here. We knew what we'd done last year here, we knew what we had to correct, and I think we limited them to very little in front of goal. And when we got in front of goal, we took our chances as well.
Just a word about Ethan Nwaneri, who made his debut at the age of just 15. Can you remember what you were doing at 15? I can't.
Wasn't playing the Premier League anyway, but that's amazing, isn't it? To think what most people are doing at 15, and he comes on the Premier League, and I'm sure there'll be many more for him, and he's definitely one for the future.
Yeah, I mean, is there how much talk around Colney is there of his ability?
Yeah, it's only very recent that I've heard. So coming on today, I was like, that's mad, because he's only trained little with us, but it just shows the quality he has and the noise that he's making and the under 18s or whatever he's playing at just now. So it's amazing for him, and what a day. He'll remember that forever.
6 wins from 7 for Arsenal, Chris. I don't want to talk about league title challenging because Manchester City just look ridiculous. But again, you know, it is okay to look at the table and they are top of it.
Yeah, and it was, I suppose, after the defeat against Manchester United, I know they played Zurich and beat them after that, a few changes within the team. Everybody was looking at this fixture, and in my BBC predictions, I predicted a draw, Steve, because I think Brentford they're such an awkward team to play against. But the way Arsenal dismantled Brentford today, that was a bit of a statement for me. Now, last night on 606, Robbie said it's a one-horse race. I tended to agree with him.
Yeah.
But if you're an Arsenal fan, I think you can be getting a little bit excited. The issue they're going to have after the international break, there's a tough run of games, isn't it? A really intense period. So the question to Arsenal fans is the squad big enough and strong enough to cope?
Are you happy with how much they celebrated, Chris? Didn't celebrate too much for you? Just checking.
Too early to celebrate, Steve. Come on.
Right, we've got one more piece of audio to bring you before the second half starts in the WSL. St Mirren ended Celtic's 38-match unbeaten run in the Scottish Premiership, beating them this afternoon by 2-0. Here is Ange Postecoglou.
Wasn't up to our levels. First thing you got to say is credit to St Mirren. I thought they were, worked really hard and really committed to their game plan, and made it difficult for us. But our performance was nowhere near the levels it needs to be.
Do you feel that having made the 6 changes to the team is a reason, perhaps, for that?
Potentially, could be a number of reasons for it. So, but from our perspective, like I said, we're kind of looking at it, and we didn't perform in any of the areas we like to perform in, and we have been performing in. So, I guess. There wasn't anything that was hugely positive out of today, so everything, including team selection, is probably not right.
Even at half-time, you bring on Jota, obviously, and Hatate, and I guess even players of that quality couldn't influence the game in the way you wanted, could they? You mentioned the praise for St Mirren as well. I mean, that has to come into it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I just think you can't do those things midstream. I just don't think we started the game well. We didn't start with the right energy, the right tempo, intensity that we usually do. We didn't, we weren't aggressive with our football. And, I think, I guess as a team, we've progressed a hell of a lot over the last sort of 15, 16 months. But there's always a reminder that you still got work to do.
I tell you what, Chris, given what Ange Postecoglou did to the translator in the Champions League the other night,
got over the line and appointed a manager after Graham Potter, but it just didn't feel like the right time. Now is not the right time for Ange Postecoglou to leave Celtic. Absolutely not.
08085 909 693. Have a good one, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
That's Chris Sutton. The lines are open. Get your calls in to speak to Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage on 606. The other side of second half commentary in the Women's Super League. That early penalty for the champions Chelsea is the only goal of the game so far at Prenton Park. They lead Liverpool by 1-0. Second half commentary then with Aoife Mannion and Tom Gale.
Thanks, Steve. As the night begins to draw in here at Prenton Park, the floodlights are on. Both sets of team are out. Chelsea in their all blue, Liverpool in their all red, and it is the champions, as you've said, courtesy of a Fran Kirby spot kick in the 3rd minute, that have the advantage, and we're all set to go here at the restart. It'll be Liverpool kicking towards the Kop end, which any regular visitors here will know it's still got that John Aldridge mural on the right-hand side of the Kop as you look out into an empty stand, but thankfully in front of us the paddock is packed to the rafters, and that cheers lets you know that we are underway. It's Liverpool restarting. Kearns goes all the way back to her goalkeeper. Lawsu feints and does a dummy on Sam Kerr and has played long. So myself, Tom Gale and Manchester United defender Aoife Mannion here for you. Second half commentary, which will be followed by BBC Radio 5 Live 6:06 with Chris and Robbie. I'll run you through the team shortly, but it's Liverpool on the attack as Millie Bright looks to usher away the clearance, and she finds touch over the far side rather conveniently. So it does allow me to run you through those two teams who are unchanged from the starting 11 that began the match at 5 p.m. So for Liverpool, it's Laws in goal, Koyavista, Hines, Flaherty, Matthews, Kearns, Stengel, Kiernan, Holland and Lawley. And as for the champions, Chelsea, who've won the last 3 straight WSL titles, it's Musovic in goal, Eriksson, Buchanan, one of the only new signing to make their full debut today, Millie Bright, Fran Kirby, Niamh Charles. Pernilla Harder was actually injured in the warm-up, so she was lately replaced, a late replacement with Sophie Ingle, Cuthbert, Wrighton, James and Kerr. We've played 75 seconds, Liverpool in possession, moving forwards over the right-hand side to Gilly Flaherty, who was brought in from West Ham, of course. Such experience. She's pretty much seen and done it all in the WSL over her time. She was a quadruple winner with Arsenal, a double winner with Chelsea, now in a Liverpool shirt, and sadly for her first bit of action was to gift Chelsea the opening spot kick, which was tucked away neatly by Fran Kirby, and that's what separates the two sides. So Aoife Mannion, straight and simple. What would Matt Beard have said to his side? Just actually wait on that, because Chelsea are trying to race forward again through Kirby. There's a faint touchback by Flaherty. It does trickle through to the goalkeeper, and there is a chance for Liverpool to counter, but Buchanan straight across the striker Stengel and usher things out for a throw. But what do you think Matt Beard's key thoughts would have been at half-time, Aoife Mannion?
Well, firstly, he'll probably be saying, let's not concede a penalty after 1 minute like the first half.
Touche.
I think they'll want to steady the ship. I think they'll want to hit the ground running, keep things compact, sort of feel their way into this second half. And I've noticed that one of their forwards, Koyavista, seems to be playing really aggressive on that right wing. So maybe they're trying to exploit Chelsea down the sides of the pitch. I guess we'll find out.
Lawley trying to nutmeg Wrighton, and good strength there from the Liverpool attacker, and she thought she'd want a throw, but it's going to trickle out for a throw to Chelsea, and they're all in blue. Confirmation of today's attendance. We did anticipate it be a record-breaking crowd. 2,138 was the previous figure that was set on the final day of the championship season last year when Liverpool celebrated their promotion back to the WSL. Well, it has been rewritten. We're over 3,006 in here at Prenton Park to see what has been a very competitive and thoroughly entertaining 45 and a few minutes or so, and still a lot to play out. But the women's game continuing to break new ground. Great to see so many support. And I know, Aoife, you weren't there at Lee Sports Village yesterday, but as a player, knowing that the crowds are coming out in their masses, it must really excite you.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to see that buzz and energy around the Euros, and our Lionesses bringing it home. It's great to see that convert into attendances, and nowhere better than our home ground, Lee Sports Village. I hope it's the top attendance of the weekend. That would be bragging rights, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you'll take that one. 4-0 win and the best attendance. There we go. What a double that is. That's the Manchester United perspective out on the pitch. It is Chelsea in control of things. It's with Eriksson, who switches play to the right-hand side and just put a little bit too much heat on that, but actually the Swede's looking over to Millie Bright saying, come on, you should have brought that one down, but it does roll out. And Liverpool's average attendance throughout the championship last season was in and around the 1,000 mark, so you could pretty much say that obviously they've trebled that, and hopefully successful the team throughout this campaign will see numbers grow as Kiernan tries to glide past that Chelsea defence, but she ran into the brick wall that is Kadisha Buchanan, who Aoife Mannion's rightfully been singing the praises of in the first half. She looks so accomplished, of course, Champions League winner, multi-Champions League winner, did it all in France with Lyon, but has chose Chelsea as her new destination in the Women's Super League, and we are delighted to have it. She's been a standout player so far as Fran Kirby, the goal scorer, heads towards Liverpool goal. Centre on, 30 yards out, looks for the 1-2 with Charles. It doesn't come off this time, and it's Lawley who tidies things up. Back to Flaherty, into Fahy, who's got Kerr poised on a shoulder, but she read that well. And here comes Holland on the right-hand side, looking to thread through Koyavista, who wants to take on Charles, and she just lost track of the ball. Looks to the skies there, frustration, but I think it's really important that no one's going to say that Liverpool are here for the taking, Aoife Mannion, but as we know, a Championship side stepping up, they're constantly showing that they're in this contest, which is really important.
For sure, and it's good to see Liverpool coming out running, with, putting that front foot forward, trying to really impose themselves on Chelsea. I've picked up that Coy Vista has been playing really aggressively. Is she trying to catch Chelsea's wing-back system out? Is she trying to exploit that down the wings? I think so. So it's good to see them taking the front seat and trying to impose themselves.
5 minutes gone in the second half. Long ball over the top looking for Erin Cuthbert, but Laws is off a line and gathers that in her violet kit, short sleeves. It is still, I don't know, as a man sitting here with coat and a comfy hoodie on, it's definitely a bit nesh for my liking, but certainly the Liverpool goalkeeper has been busy. It has to be said, of course, that picking the ball out of her own net after 3 minutes, sent the wrong way with a Fran Kirby penalty. But a reminder, football fans, the lines are open. 6:06, Robbie Savage, Chris Sutton, they would love to hear from you, especially fans of the WSL on a record-breaking weekend. 08085 909 693. You can text 85058. Get your calls in to talk about WSL, a busy day in the Premier League as well. And if you were just joining us at half-time, feel free to give it to Chris Sutton about Celtic losing today in the Scottish Premiership. If anyone wants to take that up with Mr. Sutton, feel free to do so. Pick up the phone. Lines are open. But as for the action here at Prenton Park, Liverpool on the attack. Doesn't quite come off with Coy Vista, and it goes out for a Chelsea throw. In the left-back position, I did see on the TV monitor that Matt Beard was having a word with a couple of his substitutes, just maybe getting them primed and ready to try and turn around the outcome. But his side now are on the attack through Stengel, the American, who's dispossessed by Lauren James, and James is away over the right-hand side. Looking for options, just got to come infield. There's actually no one as a viable alternative for her in front, but she keeps possession and keep ball. And this is what Chelsea do so well, Aoife Mannion, is rather than maybe waste things, they don't force it, they just wait for the obvious pass.
Yeah, and unfortunately for their oppositions, they can do a bit of both. They can control the game via possession, but they can also be really direct, as we've seen through some of those great flick-ons in the first half. So, it's like whack-a-mole. Which problem do you try and solve?
There is a lot of problems being posed and prodded and probed by Emma Hayes' sides. She's got those 3/4 length trousers on, which is always an interesting fashion choice for me. Aoife, you feeling that?
My ankles are out as well, actually.
Okay,
I don't
there
know
we
if
go.
That's a bit ambitious here, in Liverpool. Although it's still early as September, so ask me again in a couple of months.
Yeah, definitely. Winter is coming, but Chelsea are at the moment looking at maximum points on the opening day. Maybe not as convincing, it has to be said, and I'm saying this with what's still over 33 minutes remaining for them to change things. It's currently just 1-0, but we saw comprehensive wins for Manchester United, Aoife Mannion's Manchester United, and Arsenal on the opening night on Friday. The roar from the crowd is that Leanne Kiernan took a nasty collision there. She was chasing down a ball and it was completely innocuous, but she did take a heavy impact there with the Chelsea defender, and the Irish striker has remained on the deck, and that looked a nasty one, Aoife Mannion.
Yeah, she hit the ground hard, Kiernan, and I've noticed that she's not really moving, so that's always a sign that that someone might actually be injured. It was a really, really clean tackle from Khadijah Buchanan.
Yeah, it didn't seem too much. There's certainly no intent of it, but like I say, it's Kiernan working hard. It's a heavy coming together. It looks awfully sore, and rightfully she stayed down. She's going to look to try and receive a bit of treatment. We don't have the luxury of instant replays on our monitors, but the body language says it all. So there is a bit of concern there for the Liverpool striker. So it does give us an opportunity for both managers to just relay a few words to both their sides. They're heading over to the near touchline in front of the paddock stand, which is full of definitely a huge family feel, lots of youngsters, which is great to see. And of course, a reminder of our WSL coverage, which continues next weekend. Wow, what a mouth-watering prospect it is. The North London Derby on Saturday. That'll be live for you on BBC Radio 5 Live. It's at the Emirates, and according to last reports, it was close to 40,000 tickets have been sold already ahead of that one. So, wow, what a game that one could be. And on the Sunday, 5 Live, Chelsea taking on Manchester City, followed by the Merseyside derby on Sports Extra. An evening kickoff for that one, 6:45 at Anfield, Liverpool against Everton. So many big games. Aoife, I know you're sort of relishing this prospect. You were just explaining, just talk listeners through your current progress in terms of rehab and when we can expect maybe to see you hopefully in a Manchester United shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm currently rehabbing an ACL injury, and as I'm watching Kiernan lie down, as someone who's going through that injury myself, I'm always trying to check to see what the physio is checking. Thankfully, I hope it's not a knee, but as someone that's quite sensitive to those things, it's always something that's of interest to me. But yeah, rehabbing an ACL injury. I'm 6-7 months along now, so fingers crossed I'm on the back end of things. I can see that light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm trying to sort of keep things going slowly.
Yes,
along.
Understandably so. The applause is the fact that Leanne Kiernan is back on 2 feet, but she is not moving well at all. The change is inevitable, and it looks as though Megan Campbell is stripped off and ready to go. She's doing a few jumps on the touchline in front of the 4th official, and that's a huge blowy for Mannion that certainly we hope it's maybe in the short term, but as you rightly pointed out, quite a lot of concern is actually she can't even stand on, put any weight. She's being carried off by the support staff down the tunnel.
Yeah, she doesn't appear to be able to put any weight through one of her legs at all. She's being hoisted up by 2 of the medical staff team. I'm not sure they should really be carrying her around like that, actually. But yeah, certainly concerning. I hope that she's okay. She really looks like she's in some discomfort.
Just seeing her on the monitor there, teary-eyed, understandably. Such a bright prospect. 23 years of age, former West Ham striker who didn't quite make an impact, it has to be said, in the WSL. 13 championship goals last season, Liverpool's top scorer, and they are without it for the remainder of this evening's match as we approach 58 minutes played. Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. It's with Buchanan on the edge of her own penalty area, striding forwards. Goes right to James. Comes in fields, made good distance there. They're in the final third. She's surrounded by red jerseys and she pokes out wide left. Niamh Charles is going to have to work some to keep that in play, but she does. Plays it in field to Kirby. Kirby checks her run, comes back to Charles on the left. Back with Eriksson. Eriksson to Buchanan. Over the right-hand side now. This is what Chelsea will continue to do. This is what Emma Hayes will want. Frustrate the opposition, keep the ball, keep them running, chasing shadows. They're again on the left-hand side of the Liverpool penalty area. Slide in from Flaherty, but it only clears it out into touch for a throw. Taken quickly. Kirby was a little hesitant, and it's actually smothered there by Rachel Laws in the Liverpool goal. So a reminder, Robbie and Chris with 6:06 up next. Get your calls in right now if you want to talk all things WSL and the Premier League. A reminder of those Premier League results from earlier. Arsenal 3-0 winners away at Brentford. And earlier on 5 Live, Ian Dennis brought you full commentary of Everton's win against West Ham. And in the Super League today, Aston Villa 4, Manchester City 3. Spurs winning 2-1 at Leicester. And it was Everton with the victory at home against West Ham. And as we approach the hour mark here at Prenton Park, it's still just Frank Kirby's goal that separates the two sides, and the champions are in front. Holland on the halfway line for Liverpool, plays it back, neat little touch there, that was nice from Fahy. It's back with Holland, a bit more busier in the centre of the park there. Flaherty, right-hand side for Liverpool, Koyavista in front of their manager, but again the Chelsea press is high and it's successful. It's into Kirby. She's got a lot of red shirts in front of, but she dances around them. Infield to Cuthbert. Right hand side is Millie Bright. Continues to saunter on forward down that right hand side to Lauren James. Bright continues with the overlap, but she's ignored, and James goes for a rather audacious attempt. Wide right of the 18-yard box, sails into the empty stand. But it's a constant threat, isn't it, for Mannion, that Liverpool can't let up. They've got to keep concentration, because every time Chelsea get an opportunity, they fly forward.
Well, exactly. It does feel like that break in play through Leanne Kernan's injury has given Chelsea the advantage. In those first few minutes of the second half, it seemed like Liverpool had really come out the blocks flying.
Again, Liverpool very risky with the short goal kick, and it gives back possession. They can't get out their own half. It's with Erin Cuthbert back to Buchanan. So a reminder, the 606 phone number, 08085 909 693. You can text to book your call, 85058. Robbie Savage, Chris Sutton will be live with you after myself and Aoife Mannion have finished here in the WSL, where we have just less than half an hour of normal time remaining, and it is still Fran Kirby's penalty strike in the 3rd minute that gives us the scoreline of Liverpool 0, Chelsea 1. It's back with Buchanan, who finds Koyavista on the edge of a box. Rare touch for the Swede in goal, who did have an early save to make in that first half, but she's not been worked by any means, certainly past that. And that's a sign of Chelsea's dominance. We don't expect them to lose many, if any, games in the WSL, and that's what it's like. Aoife Mannion, an elite club, yourselves, Manchester United, Arsenal, Manchester City, they'll expect to go into most games thinking definitely they can win them.
Well, there's that level of expectation. And
as Sam Kerr's in one-on-one, she looks around the goalkeeper. It's a heavy touch just to cut across you there, Aoife. She's actually, for the multiple time this evening, flagged offside, rightfully so. Again, credit the Liverpool back line, but you were saying about the expectation when we certainly look at those teams expecting to be challenging for the Champions League spots, which include yourselves at Manchester United, Chelsea, Spurs, Manchester City, Arsenal. You are expected to win pretty much every game.
For sure, and we have starting 11s that are filled with quality players, and then also you get to look at the bench. We look at Chelsea's bench today, full of quality players, so many options, so many different types of players, and you do get the feeling that the longer this game goes on, it will become more and more advantage Chelsea.
The dark skies are beginning to draw in. We had rain earlier in the day, but thankfully it's been a dry evening so far on what is a lush surface. Any regular WSL listeners will know that all the trials and tribulations Liverpool had in their last season, 1920, back in the top flight, lots of games cancelled, but the ground staff have been on it ahead of this one. It is an ideal playing surface for both teams, it has to be said. We've seen many bright moments from both blue and red shirts, but it's the visitors from London who are in front, that single goal. We have played almost 18 minutes in this second half. Ingle to Eriksson, looks down the line for the run of Wrighton. She's trapped by Farhi, the Liverpool captain, immediately tries to play the ball in field, but that's well read by Laws in the Liverpool goal. What do you think it's going to take for Liverpool to get back into this, Aoife Mannion? A bit of genius, a bit of magic, or is it just sticking to the game plan where just remaining competitive and hoping the luck rolls your way?
Probably a little bit of everything. I do think Liverpool are really, really expansive in possession, which I'm not sure they'll be able to keep up that level of energy for the whole half. They don't seem to be able to string loads of passes together at the moment, so a bit more ball retention is definitely something that they're going to want to do to sort of get themselves back into this game and find some opportunities and chances, really.
The ball's over the far side. It's a Liverpool throw, just shy of the halfway line. A reminder, the Women's Football Show this evening, BBC One. It follows Match of the Day, so in chronological order, Match of the Day, the best of the Premier League action, 11:05, BBC One. And that's followed by the Women's Football Show, 11:50. If you can't quite stay up that late, it will be available on BBC iPlayer. For those who want to consume their WSL fix later in the week. Of course, there was the games that took place already today, including an absolute thriller at Villa Park, live on BBC 2, Aston Villa 4, Manchester City 3. You can watch all of the highlights right now on the BBC Sport website and app. Our colleague Emma Sanders is alongside us here in the press box, providing live text commentary. So if you're split screening, whatever you're doing, if you've got multiple devices on the go, we are your one-stop shop for all things WSL. But I'm looking over at the monitor and it looks as though there's going to be some movement on the Chelsea bench, but we're currently watching a Campbell long throw for Liverpool, which sails into the penalty area. Chelsea let it bounce right off a band, and it's going to be a penalty! Wow, long throw from pretty much the right-hand side of Liverpool's technical area from Campbell. Causes confusion. It bounces up off Millie Bright. How much she knows about it. Of course, no VAR. The decision is going to stand. I'm not sure she can do much about that, but it is a spot kick at the same end which Fran Kirby converted at the beginning of the first half. Your thoughts on that, Aoife Mannion?
Oh, that is so tricky. Obviously, it's bounced off the ground and hit Millie Bright in the arm. It's clearly hit her arm. Is a handle outside what would be reasonably expected? She would still be able to pose a threat with those throws.
So it's the American Katie Stengel stood over the ball. She's going to be right-footed against Musovic. In front of the Kop and Musovic, arms out aloft, bouncing on the line, all in yellow. What can the Liverpool striker do? Sends the keeper the wrong way. We're all level, bottom right-hand corner. Liverpool 1, Chelsea 1.
It is absolute game on now. You know, it wasn't the most convincing of penalties, but sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. Just watching the replay of the handball here. Oh, that is really tricky. I'm not sure Millie Bright could have done much. It comes off, I think, Gilly Flaherty's foot.
It's 6 yards out. Flaherty looks to flick it over her shoulder. Bright's just defending. She's just moving towards it. But that does not matter. That's for us to discuss in the media, to go in the match report as it stands right now in front of us. Wow, game on. We've got 23 minutes of normal time remaining, and newly promoted Liverpool are level against the champions. It's 1-1.
This is going to shape up for such an interesting last portion of the game. You know, who would have thought that after all of those chances and all of that form that Chelsea were having, that they would just pivot like that? And I guess that's why we love football so much, hey?
Well, we said the cliche goes 1-0 is a slender scoreline, and Chelsea can't really say they've had many chances, but saying that right and in on goal, it was actually a rather fortuitous attempt. It came off a deflection and the Norwegian did well to control it. She just had to work awfully hard to slide in to get the shot off. So Chelsea continued to press. But wow, what about Liverpool? You heard the noise. This will do wonders for the crowd inside Prenton Park.
It will. People are singing, it's hopping, there's a buzz, there's an intensity about the crowd, and I think that's going to ebb into the players on the pitch. Look, Chelsea are used to this. They're experienced. You know, they don't need loads and loads of support. They'll be able to just absolutely get their head down. But, you know, Liverpool must be fancying their chances right now. They've got all of the fans behind them.
Producer Craig's just provided the notes for me, just to say that in the past 4 seasons, the defending champions have only won once on opening day. So going to the form guide as regard to that, and indeed Chelsea, in terms of their 4 seasons that they've entered following winning the WSL title, they've only won once on the opening day. So, of course, it's all context of who you're playing, but right now, Emma Hayes was obviously deliberating about those changes, but she's about to freshen things up. And it is Millie Bright, and I don't think that's necessarily anything to do with the penalty that was recently awarded. She's going to make way, and it's going to be a debut for the new French signing, Yves Perisset. She's going to slot into the right-hand side of that back line.
I expect this to go towards a back 4 now for Chelsea. You know, Millie Bright was one of those back 3. They've taken her off. So Yves Perisset and Niamh Charles will slot into right and left back.
And just to confirm that other change, it's Johanna Reiting Canierd who's come on. And wow, as Aoife Mannion's rightfully pointed out, what a showcase we've potentially got for you here live on BBC Radio 5 Live. Chelsea, the 5-time WSL champions, against newly promoted Liverpool, who of course have plenty of pedigree at this level. They're 2-time WSL winners themselves, but that's back in 2013, 2014. So recent history against them. You look at the cast list on both sides' disposal. Chelsea by far have such enormous strength and depth, but Liverpool are holding their own. But here come Chelsea trying to pry an opening, but this one comes to no avail, and it's back with the Liverpool goalkeeper. The fans have found their voice. They like what they see, and Matt B had spoken about them being the 12th cog in the wheel as regards to cheering their side on. They were so invaluable throughout last season's championship campaign, and here they are in the top flight. And what an atmosphere, Aoife Mannion.
It is such a great atmosphere. You know, it was only a few years ago that this side played at Widnes, and I have to tell you that the crowd wasn't anywhere near it is here today. So long may it continue.
So just confirmation of those two changes. It was Perisset on for Bright, and Reinhardt came on for Wrighton. But it's now Liverpool's turn to make further changes. A triple change.
That is such a big call as a manager to make three changes, not that far into the second half. I'm excited to see how this changes the game. Is it going to swing towards Liverpool, or will Chelsea get back the momentum?
So it's Missy Beaucairns and Melissa Lawley. They're the first two to make way. Going to be replaced by Jana Daniels and Rachel Furness, the Northern Irish striker. So attack-minded change, and Koya Vistra on a Liverpool debut. She makes way with less than 20 minutes remaining, and she's replaced by Rhiannon Roberts, who Matt Beer did flag as a potential doubt, carrying a slight knock coming into this. She obviously got through training on Friday, and she's fit to play her part in what is just over 17 minutes of normal time. Live on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, myself, Tom Gale, alongside Manchester United defender Aoife Mannion, where it is Liverpool 1, Chelsea 1 in the WSL, and Daniels, the substitute, bearing down on goal. Musovic does well, clears the lines, Ingle with the flick on, but looks as though Liverpool are winning all these second balls now. Their tails are up in the centre of the field. Holland's working awfully hard, and she plays it out wide. Ball sent straight into Hines. Good neat control. Tries an audacious attempt to try and chip, or I don't know, certainly catch Musovic off her line there, and it goes out comfortably for a goal kick. But a huge momentum swift in this game, Aoife Mannion.
For sure, and when Rachel Furness ran onto the pitch there, she was doing some shadow headers, and I think it's a bit foreboding for the way that Liverpool are going to try and attack Chelsea in this last portion of the game. I think they might go more direct. I think they will expect to physically dominate in the middle of the pitch, and hopefully sort of sniff up some sort of cheeky chances from Chelsea.
No one's settling for a point here. Both sides working incredibly hard, and the scoreline of one apiece is courtesy of two spot kicks. Fran Kirby after 3 minutes, and then in the second half, a very harsh Millie Bright handball, which was awarded by referee Emily Heaslip. Of course, she doesn't have the benefit of VAR or monitors that myself and Aoife Mannion were able to have a look back at the pictures. It's awfully cruel on Chelsea, but the spot kick was awarded, and up stepped Katie Stengel. Her first goal in the Women's Super League from the penalty spot. Here come Chelsea over the far right-hand side. Cuthbert infield to Kirby. Kirby goes for the 1-2 with Kerr. The Australian back to goal. Finds Eriksson. It's now wide left. Charles into Reinhardt. The new signing on a debut, trying to dance and play a few tricks, but Roberts, experienced defender, read that one well, and it's back with the Chelsea goalkeeper.
It's as though Liverpool have went on turbocharge. All of their players just seem to be that bit more energetic.
Buchanan looking for the cheeky little dink over the top, trying to play in. Johanna Wrighting, Kannerud, the Swedes on as a substitute, and a clear bright spot because she seems to be the go-to girl on the outside left, Aoife Mannion.
For sure. And I think it's interesting actually to see Khadijah Buchanan still making those sort of dribbles and passes forward, even now that they're down to a back four. I think if it does turn over and those passes don't connect, it will leave Chelsea really vulnerable.
And a nasty collision of heads there. Furness and Eriksson. You can tell, unfortunately, by the eerie silence, that everyone in the stands felt that one. Again, the ball was sent long, both challenging for it, but the Swede and the Northern Irish woman coming together, and they've both remained on their back, and the medical staff are just actually ushering teammates away while they have a look at that one. But it does give us a chance to Just again, have a little chat about that penalty. Aoife Mannion, of course, they'll be talking about this on the Women's Football Show this evening, BBC One. Robbie Savage, Chris Sutton, get your calls in. You can speak to them about that penalty. Call, what do you think? 08085 909 693. Text 85058. We've had a few minutes to digest it, Aoife. I think our initial thoughts was it was harsh. We saw a replay. We thought it was harsh. 10 minutes or so further along the line. Have you changed your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's really harsh. I think it's not how you want a game to be decided. The referee obviously doesn't have the benefit of VAR or hindsight, but watching that back on the replay, you know, it looked really difficult and really cruel for Chelsea.
The applause will perhaps give you some indication that one of the players is okay. Eriksson it is, who's back on her feet. The Swede who fist bumps with fellow countrywoman Musovic on the halfway line. So she looks okay to continue, but there is still understandable concern for Rachel Furness, the substitute, who I'm not sure how much she's actually seen in terms of direct contact with the ball, going up for the header, and she's remained on the deck. A reminder that Liverpool have already lost one striker this evening. Leanne Kiernan stretched off with a potential knee, lower leg, certainly injury that she suffered. So Matt Beard watching on. He'll be delighted with the scoreline, but as you know, Aoife Mannion, it's a long WSL season. Furness is back on her feet, but not what you want on opening day. Your two strikers in potential injury concern.
For sure, and it's good to see Rachel Furness back up on her feet. And you know, only a few moments ago she looked like she was struggling, and it seems like she's just jumped up and turned a corner again. So I can see her stretching, I can see her twisting her neck. So hopefully she looks fine, and knowing her character and the type of player that she is, I think she'll be getting right back into it and looking to sort of physically impose herself on those Chelsea midfielders.
Well, we all know how seriously concussion protocols are taken across all forms of sport, at grassroots right through to the elite level, but certainly at the cutting edge of women's football. We have to trust in the judgment of the medical staff, and both of them deem that Magdalena Eriksson and Rachel Furness are fit to continue and partake in what could be a gripping final, well, just less than quarter of an hour here on 5 Live. Liverpool 1, Chelsea 1, the Women's Super League. Tom Gale with your commentary alongside Manchester United defender Aoife Mannion. It's sent clear by Liverpool. But it's back with Buchanan, who rolls it across to Eriksson. First touch for her. She looks back with all senses. She sprays it left to Kirby. James. We're seeing a few shots of the crowd, and a young crowd, and lots of happy Liverpool fans looking at a potential massive point on opening day at home against the champions, because with all due respect, and this is no disrespect meant to Liverpool, this is a big result if they can get at least a point at Chelsea, against Chelsea, for Mannion.
Well, for sure, you know, definitely considering that first half when Fran Kirby opened the score sheet with that penalty conversion and then all of their chances, and it really looked like, you know, Liverpool were really going to have to huddle together to get some chances, and just like that, the momentum has shifted, and Liverpool look really, really aggressive, really attacking, really exciting, and that's reflected by the mood of the fans. The atmosphere is so good here. It's great to see that it looks like it's a bit of a record attendance as well.
There's more movement on the Chelsea bench, but they are watching their side come forward. As I say that, Holland looked to have dispossessed Kirby, but wow, a rope-a-dope trick there. Pull the ball, cat out of a hat sort of thing there. Rabbit out of a hat, even cat out of a hat. Ball sent to the back post. He's going to catch the goalkeeper off the line, is it? Laws was all out of sorts there with the bearings. Thankfully, it did sail behind for a goal kick, and it does allow another Chelsea debut to be made. This is the Serbian, Jelena Kankovic. She's on to replace Sophie Ingle. So again, as a defender, Aoife Mannion, another summer signing, another stellar summer signing coming on to keep your focus at an absolute premium in that Liverpool back line.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, Sophie Ingle coming off, she's a great player for Chelsea. She's potentially a little bit more defensively minded in that formation. So it'll be interesting to see whether this now swings towards a more attacking and aggressive Chelsea side.
Emma Hayes wants 3 points. Of course, only 1 point separated Chelsea and Arsenal at the top of the table last season. There's an awful long way to go, but given what a commanding position it has to be said that they were in, Liverpool have been in the contest but not really threatening in front of goal. It will be very interesting to hear Emma Hayes' thoughts post-match. Reaction to today's WSL and Premier League action in the 5 Live Football Daily. Wherever you get your podcast from, you can listen on BBC Sounds. That'll be out later this evening. And a reminder, of course, obviously we've mentioned about that WSL coverage next weekend. Saturday, 1:30 p.m. kickoff, North London derby, Arsenal Spurs at the Emirates on 5 Live. Sunday, 5 Live, Chelsea Manchester City, that's a 4 p.m. kickoff. And then we switch to Sports Extra, 6:45 for the Merseyside derby, Liverpool Everton at Anfield. It's a Liverpool long throw. Campbell. It resulted in a penalty last time. It's causing confusion in the 6-yard backs. Much better defending there from Chelsea, but anywhere will do. Copy and paste. Megan Campbell's going to do exactly the same thing over that far side.
Yeah, interesting then when Frank Kirby cleared the ball, Megan Campbell could have took it and controlled it, but she let it go out. She actually wanted that throw-in. For Liverpool, throw-ins are as good, if not better, than corners and free kicks.
Campbell with the long throw. It's going to reach the 6-yard box. It's half-headed clear. Comes out to Holland. It was sitting up. It's a difficult strike to keep down. It sails into the empty cot, but wow. Premier League fans of a certain vintage will remember Stoke City and Rory Delap. Wow, Megan Campbell lighting up the WSL with her long throws.
She must have the most flexible shoulders.
Don't challenge it in an arm wrestle. Daniels for Liverpool, pulling out the tricks now. Liverpool have got the swagger up. They're drawing it home to the champions, and they feel, certainly amongst the fans and definitely out there on the field, that there's maybe a potential match-winning moment. But it is with Chelsea and Charles.
I think that flick on there from Rachel Furness was the first time that I've seen anyone win the ball from Kadisha Buchanan, which obviously speaks volumes of her as a player, but also tells you that Liverpool are fancying themselves. They're putting themselves into challenges. They're throwing their bodies around. I can't wait to see how this shapes up. Just over 9 minutes of normal time remaining. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. Women's Super League action. The final fixture of a captivating weekend. All the scores, all the match reports available on the BBC Sport website and at the Women's Football Show this evening, BBC One, 11:50 p.m. Before that, match of the day, all the very best of the Premier League action. Mark Chapman, Alan Shearer and Ian Wright. A reminder of those scores: Brentford 0, Arsenal 3. As Chelsea potentially looking to get to the byline, they'll settle for a corner. It does allow me to finish off those scores. And earlier today on 5 Live, Neil Mopey with the strike that separated Everton and West Ham. 1-0 win for Frank Lampard's men. Ball swung in by Chelsea over the right-hand side. Furness with the header clear, only half cleared though. You do expect this to come straight back at them. Kerr can't pick up the through ball from Perisset, and it's well defended by Liverpool. And this is the moment where defenders thrive upon, Aoife Mannion, is where you know your back's against the wall and you just really got to win every one of your key battles. Definitely, and Liverpool will be relishing in that identity of maybe being the underdog. I think it will make them feel like they've got nothing to lose. They can throw their body on the line, and obviously with those 3 late changes, they've got energy too.
Kerr with the ball over the top. She was onside. Again, Chelsea have tried that a few times, just that innocuous dink over the top. Kerr beat the offside trap 7 yards out, but she couldn't get a firm connection on it. So there's so much football to talk about this weekend. Whatever your vintage, Premier League, WSL, Scottish Premiership, 6:06 with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton.
Those controversial calls in the game, so yeah, managing the game for sure.
It's going to be a heavily debated topic across the season. There will be more instances where People will rightfully point out this is the elite aspect of the women's game in our country. Why do we not have video assistant referees? Whether or not they would have disagreed with the on-field decision, but at least having that luxury to say that. But here comes Chelsea again, sending the ball in direct. But I think what we have to say, Aoife Mannion, is the quality of the ball in the second half. Certainly Chelsea in the first half, lots of opportunities, and getting into that final third and working the back line. Have they done enough in this second 45 for you?
I don't know, you know, after Leanne Kernan's injury, it definitely looked like it was advantage Chelsea for a bit. But for me, when that Chelsea formation changed and Millie Bright came off and it seemed to go to a 4 at the back, it didn't look like they were singing off the same hymn sheet like they were when it was that really expansive 3-5-2.
Stengel, wide left. The American pulling out the trick. She's trying to make it stick. She's done well. So experienced, the American. This is her first taste of the women's top flight in this country. Signed in January, brought the goals in the championship, and she's stepped up and some today. Aoife Mannion, 2 very cool penalties.
Yeah, what an incredible game for her, hey. And also earlier in the day, Rachel Daly coming across the pond, scoring 2 goals as well for Aston Villa. We've got a substitute here, is it? I can't tell who it is, but this is definitely a bit of time wasting.
Yeah, it's Humphrey coming on, and Stengel, the goal scorer. For those who can stand here in the paddock at Prenton Park, they're getting to their feet. I can see a star-spangled banner in front of us. American fans, they like what they see from their number 24. She looks as though she's sealed a huge 3 points for her side on her first appearance in the English top flight. Wow, what a headline this could be. We still have at least another just shy of 2 minutes of added time to play. We've played 5 minutes of the minimum 7 to be added. It's a Chelsea goal kick, which they understandably hurry. Musovic to Eriksson. Chelsea again won't rush things. Buchanan slides it to the right-hand side. Pirise on her debut. Back to the fellow debutant, Buchanan, who's going to be one of the big talking points if we get a chance to speak to Emma Hayes to see what she makes in particular of that second challenge, which brought down Stengel. But Chelsea still on the attack, left-hand side of the Liverpool half. Back with Eriksson, sends the ball into the box. England's going to challenge, she wins it, wins the knockdown, but she can't find a fellow blue shirt, and it's going to go out for a goal kick. And England's racing over to the ball assistants to say, yep, come on, give it back. And the referee on the penalty spot almost, just making sure Lisa Laws doesn't do too much game management, Aoife Mannion.
This will all be suiting Liverpool. Chelsea look really, really frustrated. They've had many crosses in the game, but unfortunately in the last few minutes, those crosses don't seem to be like making the connection. They're not clearing the back line, or they're going too far, and so Liverpool will just be hoping to ride this out now.
I said earlier that only one newly promoted side had won on the opening day of the WSL season. That was Sunderland against Liverpool back in 2015. Chelsea themselves have only lost one game in their entire WSL history against a newly promoted side, and that was Sunderland. So it's a huge evening for Liverpool. I don't want to go too soon, but what a story this is. Get your calls in. Robbie Savage, Chris Sutton are waiting to hear from WSL fans. Is there a late twist? England's in, 6-yard box. She doesn't get the connection. It goes out for Kerr, wants a corner. Referee's assistant says goal kick. Chelsea are throwing everything at it, but the Liverpool back line, Aoife Mannion, is holding firm.
That was a tricky one. I want to see it on the replay, but I think Beth England will be really disappointed with herself that she didn't manage to get any part of her body on that, because it looked like she was in between the defenders, and if she'd made any touch at all, that could have been a clear goal.
The minimum 7 minutes are up. Of course, we did have substitutes in added time, so at least another 30 seconds or so. Up next, 6:06. Chris Sutton, Robbie Savage, get your call in 08085 909 693. You can text 85058. The boys would love to hear what you've got to make of this opening weekend in the WSL and the best of the Premiership, the Premier League action and the Scottish Premiership. But Sam Kerr into the Liverpool penalty area. Fahey goes down. Liverpool clear their lines. The referee blows the whistle. Cue pandemonium. A record-breaking weekend of attendances has arguably been packed has arguably been capped by one of the biggest shocks in WSL history. Newly promoted Liverpool have beaten Chelsea, the 5-time Super League winners, by 2-1. Chelsea went in front after 3 minutes. Fran Kirby converting from the penalty spot, and the game swung in the second half. 2 debatable penalties, but no doubt about the conversion. Katie Stengel, the American, converting both. I've been alongside Manchester United.